Howdy, everybody. I believe I am live. How are you, folks? What's going on? 11 a.m. Wednesday. Welcome to Work It Daily. This is building a dream team without a dream budget. So we are here to chat for a little bit about, I guess, my experience with being on a team, building a team, joining a team, trying to figure out what the right team is, all those good things. So a little bit. Well, first of all, lots of great pro voices here teaching all kinds of great stuff. I know this afternoon Percy has a class in content creation with AI. Personally, be going to it. Fortunate to live in a time where education and access to great people is so easy. So take advantage of all these. Pursue things you're interested. Learn something about other people. It's a superb platform, and I encourage participation everywhere. So um, I am looking to see what I got here participant wise, and I'll tell you a little bit about me. I am a creative producer. What the hell does that mean? That means I work with advertising agencies, brands, uh, people like JT. Let's say JT wanted to hold, it's a year from now, and she wants to hold a Pro Voice conference. And there's 300 Pro Voices, and we have so much to say that we have breakout rooms and a keynote, and we have a convention for the weekend. I might plan that from a conceptual level, what the big get is, and what are all the danglers to connect, so we all walk away with a unified message. A creative producer takes a concept into uh, through the production phases, testing and into development, and then deploying. Sometimes that can happen in 3 days. Somebody can say, hey, we just got an opportunity to be in San Francisco at the Mayor's Cup, whatever, and that could happen next week, or it could be something we talk about for a year. So, how that relates to teams is I've been building teams my whole life, and joining teams, and two sides to teams, right? As I said, you're building the team, and then you are a team member. In both cases, it's your job to make the team better. Something I used to tell my children, here's a little fatherly, coachly philosophy. They were both pretty good athletes, pretty good soccer players, but I said to them, if the team is the best team that your team is when you're on the field, you will make more teams than being the best player on the field. So if the team is better with you on it, you will play more, you will get invited more, you will be sought more, period. Um, I equate it to when I was a little kid and played pickup basketball. When we were at basketball courts in New York and there was a 2 hour wait, when you got picking sides or looking for guys, you pick the five best guys. You pick the chemistry. You pick the guys you could win with. You pick the guys, you didn't have to live with them. You had to win with them. So there's some of that in team building, but continuity and consistency are big things. So I see Williams here, and he had asked me a question ahead of time that I'll address first. And to help you guys out, because I have it on my screen, I'll read it for you. Um, so I work with nonprofits that have unpaid volunteers, including me. How do you form a team that's ready, willing, and able to do the job and finish it? And often their hearts are bigger than their skills. They're in it for a reason. So it's a great question, William. I mean, um, volunteer staffs are not the easiest to sometimes manage, and it depends on what they're being asked to do and how long. I've gone on missionary missions with people building homes in third world countries, and I've had people show up at an event to be a greeter because they got free entry to the event, or they're going to um, be asked to do something they thought might be more glamorous. The biggest thing with volunteers I find is in screening and selecting them. Select them. It's not just warm bodies. You should make sure somebody makes sure that they want to be involved, and a little bit about who they are, just to make them feel part of. And then I find it's about communication, and it's about enough chiefs. What I do sometimes, and because we could have a cast of 400, and I could have people doing all kinds of things, it is make sure that somebody is watching a number of them, 10, 15. Somebody's been charged with, this is the task for the team. Let's make sure they stay on it. And another trick I do if somebody's with me for a few days is first of all, you give them the big mission. You got to include them, right? And the first thing I do if they're going to break up into groups on the first morning is I say, guys, we're going to break up into groups for this. They will not be the groups we'll be with for the next 2 hours or this afternoon. We'll change them. But for now, this is the way we're going to go. And I've separated you from your friends because I want you to meet some other players here. I want you to know why other people are here. Part of you being here is to meet people and connect. So I separate friends because a clique will destroy a volunteer group, you know? And there will be some non-performers. There will be people who um, may drag you down more than push you up, but depending on what you're getting people for, um, you just can't have them back. I mean, I've built teams where I've had low performing players being paid. They don't get invited back, or they get put in a position, relegated to a position. It's hard. It's hard to tell somebody who's giving you their time that they're not cutting it. Um, I think a lot of it is preparation and communication. A lot of people don't know what to do, and a lack of direction, a lack of purpose will surely cause people to wander, you know, and keeping people's attention, just communication in a team. Think about it. The more you know about what you're trying to do, the more you'll be able to help. You know, I start every production, and this is something that I did from years ago. Um, the I'm sorry, I looked at something here. So for years, I was on a cruise, and I'd be on the street doing lighting on a project or something, and periphery away from the camera, and somebody'd walk up and say, "What are you guys doing?" I would have no idea. That stuck with me. So when I became in charge, when I became an assistant director, when I ran a set, I made sure we had a production meeting in the morning. Tell everybody what we're doing, what the push points are, why we're here. They don't have to come to that. It's the first thing at call time. Guys, give me 5 minutes. I want to give you an overview of what you're up to. But I felt that giving them that overview, connecting them, helped. And I know it because they told me. And they can also look out for you during the day. You know, if you say, guys, we got a busy day up to lunchtime, right before lunch, we got some special things happening. We got to be on time for that. I need your help this morning. Inviting people to help, giving them some ownership in building a team is paramount. Now, I guess one of the premises of this, I said, is let's build a dream team without a dream budget. Challenge. Money's always a challenge, you know, but when you build a team to tackle a project, it's a little different than when you're staffing, except I think you should think about your team staffing as a startup, right? One of the most important elements to a startup and doing project work like I have, basically, I'm a startup junkie. You know, we're on something 2 or 3 weeks, figure it out, it's done. We're on something for a month. We're on something that's 6 months away and we're going to meet on it. It's a constant build and take apart, build and take apart. I've done it 1,000 times. So I'm a bit of a startup junkie. Um, there's a great energy about startups. You know, when people are excited about a goal, a task, when they're included, they're going to give you more. When they feel like their fingerprints are on something, they're going to give you more. Now, there's all kinds of technical needs that you may need in building a team, but there's a lot to be said for chemistry, you know, and a lot to be said for experience. I happen to have an approach that I use that I call the SEAL team. You know, I would rather have four super skilled people to run four parts of a production than I would rather than 10 semi. I want leaders. I want people who know their craft and that I support so they can do their best work. So for me, it's identifying the linchpins to a production, the linchpins to an objective, the linchpins to the strategy and the goals, and making sure the key thing is having a few key people in positions that can run part of it. You can't do it all. Uh, you know, I started by telling you I have sometimes crews are 5, 6, 7 people, small shoots. Sometimes they're 400. When you have 400 people that you're communicating to, 600, or you're communicating to cars and boats and skydivers at the same time, communication and communication theory, and you need to have some meetings to make sure the right people are in the right place and that you have the right language in place. What I do is kind of high stakes sometimes, meaning that there's a lot of eyes on it. But I think it's true in corporate America that people, and in small companies, people, you know, uh, teams come together randomly sometimes, and you need to have a channel to assess skills and to ask people what they're looking for. People need to feel like they're growing. You know, I once worked for a company that had um, I ran a division of the company, and there were hundreds of people in the company, and I had about 40. And I realized once I got in charge of them that one day a week I had to close my door to have personality conversations, and 1 hour a day I had to close my door. And I asked some senior leaders, how they manage it. And to be honest with you, the guy that I expected to get the best answer from told me, I don't. I hire smart people, and if they can't figure it out, they don't last. Um, you know, Companies are run by individuals. We all don't get a training manual. We all don't get to go to Harvard Business School. We all don't get to go work under, you know, Stephen Hawkins. We don't get to learn from masters. We get to learn sometimes by trial and error. We get to learn by life. Certainly, a lot more of my experience in life is experiential. I've learned by watching others and emulating them. I mean, if you think about who you are as a leader or who you are as an employee, you're really an amalgamation of the people you admire. Some could be some parents in there, and usually there's a high school teacher, a professional colleague, maybe someone you admire. I mean, you kind of pull it together and build your own persona. Um, so when it comes to um, team building, I think of it, because of my profession, a little like casting. And I mentioned that. I look at the project, I look at the need, and I make sure I have some key players that are what I consider the make or break places, the point of failure. I make sure I address the real push points, and then I make sure I support those players. Because again, having four really skilled people in the positions that really matter and support them correctly is how I go about it. I call it casting because if you think about a movie, there's a couple of stars and there's bit players, and then there's the cast. And don't get me wrong, the cast is as important as the main players when it comes to how you feel about it at the end of it. So it needs to be structured, built, and layered that way. I call them anchor players. They are people that, without a doubt, will be able to do the task that is asked of them. You know, and how I go about that. So, dream team with little budget. Understand what you're trying to do. What's the mission? What are you being asked to do? And make that key assessment. And here's, put people in those places and support them. Speak to them. I'm a big believer. I came from the world where we used to all work in a bullpen. I like people being in the same place when you're pulling off a creative project, because I like to be able to walk in the room and say, everybody, coffee break, update, what's going on? Because it is so interrelated what people are doing that it's good to know where they are at that moment. And it's also good to make sure somebody hasn't gone down a rabbit hole. So staying on top of it, staying open, you know, not letting things derail. It's funny in team building, you can give people the mission when you start, you can give them a big picture of what you're going to do, but there's going to be a lot of little course corrections as you go, a lot of little conversations, and it should. Those conversations are the questions that keep you tight, keep you on target. I have sailor buddies. They check their course all the time. If you're sailing from South America to New York and you're off by 2 degrees, 2 days from now, you're not going to be anywhere near New York. You're not going to be anywhere near the United States, probably. You'll be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean wondering how you got there. You need to stay on top of it. So, Um, I talked about supporting the pros. Allowing people to feel part of something is a big part of building the right team, you know? So if you're building a dream team and you have less money, you need to make sure that the team can achieve the goal, right? That's a big thing. People are often asking for more than they bite off more than they can chew. Well, we need to make sure as leaders and as people inspiring teams that we not only deliver what we're being asked, but we over deliver. Don't overpromise, over deliver. Make sure you elevate and bring more to whatever it is you're working on, and then elevate it. That'll get you success top down. And if you allow your people to have their fingerprints on it, I call it fuzzy logic. All right. Fuzzy logic to me is I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do, but I am going to tell you where we need to be at the end of the day, or the emotion I want somebody to feel when they walk up to the event, or when they walk in the door, or after the keynote speaker. What are they supposed to feel? So that's largely on the speaker and the showrunner, but it's also on what we do around it, how we support it. I ask them for ideas. I ask them for the bits and gags, the little pieces. Same on shoots. When you talk to department heads, you're looking for them to give you the tricks of their trade to make you look better. You know, Part of leadership and leading a dream team is being vulnerable. I don't know everything and I can't see everything. So having those lines of communication open with your team will only make whatever you're doing better, will make them feel better. If their fingerprints are on it, if they can see their contributions, they're going to give you more. So building a dream team is about empowerment. It's about giving people the opportunity to show what they can do. And they can do more than you think. You might have more trouble pulling them back, you know? So that's I think another thing for me in project work and is making sure let's use home building. You want to make sure that if you're building a home, that your builder builds homes in your budget. So you may have the dream of the home on the corner lot with the water view, but if your budget isn't that, that may not be the right builder for you. You don't want somebody working below their ability to the point where they're not interested in it. And it can happen. It can happen if you select a vendor who you're not giving a challenge to or that you don't have great communication with. And I'm not saying they're not doing their job. I'm just saying that people want to aspire to do something new, something they haven't done, to achieve something, to show their value. Always good to make sure that your vendors are right sized. They should be excited about the project. It should be an opportunity for them. You don't want it to be the first time they've done anything, but you want it to be a bit of a stretch. You know, there are times where that's not true, but by and large, I believe you want people to be uh, working above their weight class a little bit, punching above their weight class. They want to be, put it this way. Have you ever played tennis with three people better than you? Doesn't your game get better right away? If you're in a meeting on a team with three people who are kind of really savvy and smart, don't you step up your game? Naturally, it's a natural instinct for us to show our best when we're surrounded by the best. So think of that in organic chemistry and team building and human nature and psychology. You want people that are pulling in the same direction. You want people that see the goal and that are working together. This is back to the startup. I tell you I'm addicted to startups, and all productions are startups. When people are pulling in the same direction, when we see the goal and we all want it, and we're putting the goal in front of the individual, it happens. And then you feel great about what you just did, and you can't wait to do it with them again. That's where you build a team. So if you have a big challenge coming up for a team that you may not have had the experience to work with and they're not tested, maybe you should do something small with them. I have a creative director buddy who, when he steps into an agency job, which he calls like, he says, now we walk into an agency that has an established dynamic. They have creative people, they have egos, they have all the things that go with creative human behavior and humans, and you step in as a leader. He says it's a little bit like being mom's new boyfriend going to Thanksgiving dinner with the family. It's a little awkward. Everybody's looking at you. People are trying to find fault. And he has an exercise he likes to do where he says, "Hey guys, we're going to do a fire drill. We're going to take a brand, we're going to take a situation, and we're going to come up with a creative idea for them by tomorrow morning." And he puts the team right to work, right on something that's open, creative, and has a kind of a deadline and some energy to. And he will tell you more often than not, the next day or the next afternoon or 2 days later, whatever the time frame allows, the team has come back with great ideas because you set them free. The What he's doing is showing an example to them that he expects and wants them to bring stuff to the table. It's amazing. That's one of those things that you just don't know. You would only know if somebody told you or you saw it in action or you were witnessed it and you were in the room when it happened and you went, "Oh my God, this group of people who's been slightly dysfunctional and maybe a bit more complaining than output or more restricted than open is now firing on all pistons." It's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. Um, I did get, let's see. So I got a question here. Sorry, guys. What's the first thing you look at when you're building a team? Well, I kind of rambled into that. So thank you for the question. First thing I look at is what I'm trying to do, right? Another thing I look at right away. Another thing I look at right away is what I need for support. What is my role in this? And not in a selfish way, but you want to support you so you can be the best you. Just like I want two or three leads that really are skilled in part of the objective, and I want to support them correctly. When I say casting of people, you want people doing what they're best at. You know, I got a secret for you. People like to do what they're good at. People excel at what they're good at. So if you can support them to get the best of them and take away some of what might be the less exciting part of their job or the part of the job that they may not be good at and support them correctly, those three or four key players are going to give you so much more because they're excelling at what they do. That's my secret to building a team. You know, understand the needs and then get a couple of key players, the SEAL team in my what I call them, and then make sure they're supported. Make sure they have what they need to do their best work, and the people working under them are doing and learning and supporting them. You know, one of the keys to what I do sometimes is when I hire a department head or when I bring in somebody, I want them to bring their team. I want them to bring their favorite players with them. You know, I'm not so much building it from a ground level piece by piece. I'm taking functional working pieces and assembling them so they can be cohesive quicker and 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 then operate at what they're good at. So that's where I start. You know, you also have to start by making sure you're the right person to do the job. You know, do you um, are you equipped to do the job? Do you believe in what's being asked? The funny thing about my business, sometimes there are certain things, questions that seem obvious that aren't answered. Like, why are we doing it there now? And you feel like that would be a baseline question that would be answered. Sometimes it isn't. And sometimes the answer to certain things in the real world is it doesn't matter. That's that's set. So don't think about that. Let's think about how we're going to do that, not whether we should be doing it. We're doing it. Let's do it well. So another question is, what's a mistake you see people over and over and over when putting teams together? I think the biggest mistake I see is not understanding the need of why they're bringing people in, um, and maybe not communicating with them correctly from the beginning. So the mistake is made when you don't have a good picture of the goal and you don't have a good picture of, or there might be some fuzziness in what you're doing. If you don't understand it and can't convey it, it's back to that 2 degrees off if you're a sailor. If you're not on course, it is very easy to get off course. And sometimes timelines are so tight we have to hire people quickly. And some questions that they need answered aren't answered. It's very hard to tell somebody that's really good at what they do half of what they need to know. This is a question that I have all the time when I'm getting people who are hiring a production entity to do a project is make sure we have good direction. With good direction, then the order of the team and the sequence is easy. But without some key questions answered, and then sometimes deadlines are close, we run really fast and they go down a wrong alley, and that alley is a dead end. Sometimes decision trees, they're not zigzag roads. Sometimes you run into a wall. So the problems they make is running too quick. That can happen because they're being pushed hard, uh, or sometimes it can happen when the direction completely changes. So I think a leader's role in building a team is making sure you understand before you disseminate what you're trying to do. So um, we're getting close to the end. We have a couple of minutes if anybody has anything else. I did make a little note here about, um, and I said this a little in the beginning, and I'll reiterate it now. Whether you're building a team or joining a team, you know, are you right for the team? Are you going to elevate the team? I ask people when I'm hiring them, especially for lower positions to join on a team, is how are you going to make this better? And it confuses somebody who's young or new. Like, how am I going to make it? I don't know anything. Well, yes, you do. You know how to come to work, ready to work. You know how to have your eyes up. You know how to look around. You know how to integrate with people. Or how are you going to make it better? Simple question is, I'm going to show up and be ready to do what's needed. Lightning bolt, you need people willing to work and willing to learn. And the more you can get people that have an interest or at least have an understanding of what you're doing, the better it's going to go. So, um, I've been doing that for a long time. And let me see if I have anything else here. So, another thing is, and I just mentioned it, but I'll close with it, is personal commitment. Do you believe? Are you committed? Can you convey enthusiastically to your team, to your volunteers, to your production squad, why you're in it, what we're doing, and what the outcome is? People stretch. I've seen teams pull together and do things. I mean, I hate to go back to sports, but if you think about some underdog teams that just had chemistry, they had will, they had unity, that together they were better than they were separately. Back to the adage of what I told my kids when they were young and they were athletes: be a better teammate. Make the team the best team it can be when you're on the field, and you'll play more. And I drilled in them the philosophy that a lot of pro athletes will have. If you ever see a post game interview, the good, humble, the best players will say, Coach did a great job. Team did a great job. Our opponents are incredible. Pleasure to be part of it. You know, Teammates, coach, co-players, boss, the goal that you achieved, and you were part of it. You don't, that's how other people want to work with you. You don't want to steal you don't want to spotlight hog. They want to work with you because you share and let them feel part of. That to me is the secret sauce of team building and having people who want to work with you. The goal in my profession is when I call somebody up and say, hey, I got an opportunity to do this, they say when and where. There's no question about what we're doing because they know me well enough to know if I took it and I'm excited about it, they want to do it. So that concludes our half hour. I thank you. There was one last question here. How do you keep freelancers and short-term hires aligned? I think we'll have to do that. Well, I'll answer it quickly. How do you keep freelancers and short-term hires aligned with bigger brand vision? It's not easy balancing people who come in a glorified spot with staffers. Staffers, let me, admit staffers get burned out. Staffers get used to operational snags. The best thing you can do is try to bring in those people in fresh energy, but not make them superstars. Present to the team why they're there. It's not always easy, but it goes back to who you hired and how you're managing them and whether they see upward mobility in their career. Because when people come in that are freelancers, they're more likely highly skilled in a part of the profession that they can learn from. So if the organizational atmosphere, if the company mojo at that time is positive, they'll welcome them. So that's what I think about that. So thank you very much. 11:30. That concludes this. Remember, lots of great voices here. Work it daily in the Pro Voice program. You can learn, you can get tips, you can talk to us, you can reach out on subs. There's a lot of ways, and most of us, all of us, all I've talked to are willing to talk to you. So thanks for being here.